Hey folks, this is Rhykker with some exciting news about Diablo 3's patch 2.3. Today, Blizzard has spoken up for the first time, giving us a preview of the upcoming patch. And what's best, they say that the PTR for 2.30 will be, quote, right around the corner, which hopefully is sooner than soon TM. This patch seems absolutely huge, with a new zone, new items, new difficulty levels, adventure mode updates, crafting system updates, and, wait for it, the Horadric Cube. But let's go through these one by one. And again, this is just a preview, so there could be even more coming, and I absolutely can't wait to jump on that PTR server. So first off, the new zone, Ruins of Sescheron. Now they teased this all the way back at BlizzCon 2014. It seemed like a really cool new zone based on Act 5 Ariat back in Diablo 2. The Barbarians' homeworld, and one thing that seemed really distinctive about this region was the traps. There's some kind of swinging blade pendulum nonsense going on. I seem to recall there being some kind of spike traps. Basically, it seems like there will be some opportunity to use the environment to your advantage, and yes, we already have this somewhat in the other acts and other regions, but for whatever reason, this one just seems a little more special. Next, the updates to the crafting system. Now here's one change that's been a long time coming. They are unifying crafting materials. There will no longer be those two different tiers. The crafting materials you get at level 1 will still be usable at level 70. This helps making that 1 to 70 journey a little more rewarding and feel a little less useless. I just remember being super disappointed getting to 70 and having all these fiery brimstones that I can't use for anything anymore. Yeah, well, not anymore. No more filling up your inventory with useless, low-level crafting mats. They also say that they've crunched down the number of crafting recipes, quote, making the process easier and more fluid than ever as your results now dynamically adjust to your character's level. If this means what I think it means, this is also a terrific change. Again, as you level up your blacksmith, you unlock recipes, and by the time you're about 5 to 10 levels ahead of whatever recipe you unlocked, it's useless. So what I'm gathering from this is that instead of having a level 5 axe, a level 15 axe, a level 20 axe, a level 25 axe that you can craft, it's just gonna be axe. And it crafts to whatever level you are. And if that's the case, that is amazing. Anything that Blizzard could do to make the 1 to 70 journey less painless and more enjoyable is something that I'm a huge fan of. I mean, I love to do 1 to 70 speedruns. A lot of people just don't like the 1 to 70 journey and thus prefer being power leveled by someone. I like to actually do it myself, because I derive satisfaction from being able to play efficiently and beat my previous records. And I think more people might enjoy the 1 to 70 journey as well, if everything you did from 1 to 70 didn't turn out to be useless once you hit 70. And these crafting system changes seem to be a good step in that direction. Alright, next, adventure mode updates. Realm of Trials, gone. Hell, it's about time. Now this isn't news, they told us that they were working on this for a while, but we had no concrete word on when that would come. Now we know. Trials are gone. This is going to make Greater Rifts so much more enjoyable. They're also doing things to, quote, improve the pacing of adventure mode, while encouraging players to explore bounties across a variety of acts. And they're going to do that by giving act-specific crafting materials to Horadric caches. And now, completing bonus acts in adventure mode will also grant a bonus cache, stuffed with crafting materials, gold, and additional act-specific crafting mats. I was never a fan of doing bounties, so I'm not sure how I feel about being incentivized to do them. That said, it's possible that I just didn't like bounties because they weren't as rewarding as rifts. Maybe if bounties are more rewarding, I will enjoy them better. They definitely offer greater variety than rifts. And I think a lot of us have those horrific memories of grinding out the Ring of Royal Grandeur back on Reaper of Souls release before they buffed the drop rates and they were super easy to get now. But I think if we weren't just doing the same bounties in the same act over and over and over, maybe these could be more enjoyable. And hey, I'm not gonna say no to more rewards. I am, however, a little skeptical about crafting materials that will be specific to Horadric caches. This seems to be taking a step back towards an old system where there were specific crafting materials that you needed, and you could only get those from killing certain monsters spread throughout the game. Hell, when they removed that system, I still had a stash tab full of those antiquated crafting materials, which you then just had the option of selling for 50,000 gold. I would actually almost prefer a system where crafting materials were simplified even further. Honestly, I don't really understand why we need to have 3 different base crafting materials: common debris, veiled crystal, and arcane dust. It just seems that it always becomes a pain to farm that one that you're lacking. I don't really understand why they can't just unify those 3 into a single crafting material, but I digress. I'm still excited to try out these changes in action on the PTR when it goes live. But there's still more. Blizzard's introducing some changes to seasons in that you're now going to have a way to track your accomplishments. They call this the season journey. And this will divide your journey up into chapters, marking major milestones. So for those of you who really care about achievements, this seems like something that's going to really appeal to you. But something that appeals more to me is that completing, quote, tiers within the season journey unlocks new portrait frame awards. And these are looking pretty sexy. I'm not sure how fond I am of the specific motifs, but I just love the fact that we're getting more portraits. I think everyone was fed up of stars upon stars upon stars, and then they brought in that awesome Season 3 portrait, which was just phenomenal, but now everyone has that, so we're all stuck to having the same portrait. More variety in cool-looking portraits is a great idea. Next, we have new difficulty levels. I think Blizzard might have previously mentioned that they were not planning on introducing new Torment Levels, but now that T6 is basically a joke with the power creep of 2.2 sets, they realized that, yeah, Greater Rifts can't be the only difficult thing in this game, so we're now getting 4 new Torment Levels all the way up to Torment 10. Next, as expected, we'll be getting new legendary and set items. This includes introducing new items and revamping old items. As always, changes to set items, or rather set bonuses, will be retroactive, but changes to legendary items will not. Fingers crossed that Helltooth set for the Witch Doctor will be buffed. But one can dream, right? Now again, we have changes coming to combat as well. Part of this is, quote, reducing the amount of crowd control the game's tougher monsters will tolerate. This is going to be game-changing. The 4-man teams that push the highest Greater Rifts rely on having huge crowd control. An example composition will be 2 characters that bring the pain and 2 characters dedicated to crowd control. They are ZDPS characters. So you have a Crusader and a Witch Doctor, and their builds would not function solo. They rely on their party members to bring all the damage, spec'd as glass cannons, and their job is to make sure that the monsters never get a chance to attack. Well, it's looking like Blizzard wants to phase out that style of gameplay. To be fair, it does force a very specific party composition at the highest levels of play, and makes it so that if you don't have a certain character of a certain build, then the cool kids are going to tell you to take your ball and go home. Now, they've given scant details on how this will work, so I'm just guessing that this is what they're trying to do. And if it is the case, it will hopefully broaden up that endgame variety. They're also making a tuning pass on how much experience and progress monsters will give you in Rifts. So monsters that take more time to kill will now give more progress, which you'd think should be the default, but as we all know from Greater Rift fishing, hasn't really been the case in practice. And they're saying that monsters, quote, those that are especially easy to kill will provide less. I think that could mean that we can say goodbye to fishing for zombie rifts. Zombie rifts are presently the best rifts because they give pretty good XP, and you basically have 0 risk of dying to zombies. So while I love to get a zombie rift, it's not so much because it's easier, but because the more challenging rifts aren't appropriately more rewarding. So if killing those flying Anarch bastards actually becomes rewarding, my response to seeing them may no longer be Alt F4. But perhaps the most exciting change coming to Greater Rifts is, quote, we've also made changes that create a better balance between the time you spend exploring and clearing Nephilim or Greater Rifts, and the time you spend facing the Rift Guardian. With these changes, more of the emphasis will be on your journey as you explore and clear the Rift, end quote. Again, right now, the endgame in Diablo is focused on area damage over single target damage. I don't mean area damage, that stat you apply on your shoulders or in Paragon points. I mean area of effect damage. It's simply more efficient to take skills that enable you to deal damage over a wide area affecting multiple monsters at once than it is to just hit one monster at a time. Unfortunately, this produces some poor results when it comes to rifts. You have the first part of your journey where you're killing groups of monsters and having a great time feeling powerful, and then bam, all of a sudden, you're facing the Rift Guardian, and your skill setup, which revolves around dealing massive damage to areas of monsters, is very weak against the Rift Guardian, and then you have to spend like 30 to 50% of your time in the Rift just dealing with the Guardian. It's ridiculous. And depending on your class and build, this problem could be better or worse, but it seems that those characters best equipped at clearing rifts are those worst at dealing with the Guardians. And that's only natural, because if you're really good at single target DPS, then you're gonna suck in the first part of the journey, and you might not even make it to the Rift Guardian in time. So again, no details were given as to how they're implementing this, but I can't wait to get on the PTR and see how well things are now balanced. Alright, now the one change that I saved for last, the Horadric Cube. Although they're calling it the Kanai's Cube, Kanai? We're all gonna call it the Horadric Cube, so I don't know why they didn't just call it that. They're even trying to pass off some BS about this one being even better. They're saying, they actually wrote, useful as the Horadric Cube was, it was easily surpassed in power by the item from which it originated, Kanai's Cube. Get out. First off, no one could pronounce that. Secondly, we're calling it the Horadric Cube. Deal with it. I get that you've named everything after Horadric this and Horadric that, you know, you've got the Horadric Cache, and so Horadric Cube might not sound so hot next to it, but come on, you can't bring back the Horadric Cube and not call it the Horadric Cube. I'm sorry. For anyone who somehow doesn't know, if you've not played Diablo 2, this was a crafting device. You would shove items in it, and there are different recipes that you can use to craft different items as a result. It's kind of similar to Minecraft's crafting table, you can say, except about 5 million times more awesome. Now, one thing that Blizzard is saying this Kanai's Cube is able to do is, quote, break down legendary items and equip their special effects as passive skills, which are separate from your other passive skills. What? Hold on a second. Wait, what? So I could take me an Ether Walker, break it down, and then still be able to teleport around like an awesome sorceress while wielding my Serpent Sparker? You hear that, Blizzard? That's the sound of me throwing money at my screen. I have no idea how this is gonna work in practice, but I'm excited to see it, because I can see this becoming way overpowered way quickly. They're gonna have to limit, to some degree, how many passive skills you're able to stack this way. In fact, it would be really cool if they would do it like the charm system from D2, where you have to hold it in your inventory. Although, I don't know about that actually. Managing inventory space is not a fun mechanic. What would be cool though is bringing back that separate interface. I think they call it that Talisman Amulet or Charm Amulet or something that they originally had in beta way back years ago, while D3 was still in development. That was basically D2's charm system, but you had a separate inventory slot for it, so it was not competing with inventory space to hold loot. And I think that's a very important separation to have. Another thing that the Horadric Cube can do is convert crafting materials from one type to another, which we've all been asking for, but again, if we just had one type of crafting material, as I suggest, that wouldn't be necessary, but whatever. And it's able to do, quote, so much more. Can anyone say 2.4 rune words? So look, I know right now, interest in Diablo 3 is probably at an all-time low. I know a lot of you guys have stopped playing, but this is possibly the most exciting patch I could remember coming to this game. I mean, I guess apart from the Reaper of Souls patch, but since Reaper of Souls, these are some of the biggest changes. For anyone who doesn't know, the PTR, or Public Test Realm, is a small server that Blizzard sets up before patch release for people to go and balance test and post bug reports and feedback. No progress you make on the PTR carries over. So this isn't really something you want to play for fun, but that said, you can stay tuned to this channel here. I will definitely be balance testing patch 2.3, and I'll be more than happy to bring you news on what's new and exciting, what's working, what's not, so do come back in the future, and hey, get ready to play Diablo again. That wraps up this video. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment letting me know what you're most excited about in 2.3 and why it's the Horadric Cube. And if you enjoyed this video, share with friends, hit like, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders.